this live panel for the Mormon Meat Locker podcast. Real quick, we're just going to ask everyone to hold your questions and comments to the end. We'll have a Q&A session. And we don't have any speakers, so just kind of keep it down if you make any wisecracks to your neighbor. Cody? Alright, so first of all, if you haven't watched this before, the Mormon Meat Locker, Caroline and I decided to start that. It's just a kind of by singles, for singles podcast. We talk about anything and everything pertaining to single life. So we have a group on Facebook where we post every week what we're discussing, and we put links to, we do it live on Google Hangouts on air, and it's also live on our YouTube channel. So there's links on there so you can catch it. You can also go to our YouTube channel and see all our past episodes as well. So I'm Cable, Bonnie Jenkins. Yes, Caroline's going to say something.
We're on Patreon, and a lot of people have asked me what that is. It's a way that you can help sponsor our podcast to help us to get this out every week. And what we've done is to make it worth your while is a lot of our podcasts, we try to keep them in 20 minutes, but some of them we could just keep going on and on. And so we end up stopping it and we start it again. And so we have like an extended version that you get if you pay like $5 or more a month. And then we have other activities that we do. So So when we post our podcast, we post it through Patreon, so you can click over and get onto it.
Yeah, the links are all on the group for that, so if you have any more questions about it, feel free to message me or Caroline. So, I said, Cable the Party Jenkins, live up in Salt Lake. This is Caroline Kingsley, my co-host. And tonight for our panel, we're going to have each of our panelists just give a brief introduction about themselves and tell us who they are.
I'm Carol Ward. I have 3 girls. I was married for 23 years. And I'm a grandma. Yeah, thanks, Cable. Cutest grandbaby ever. I finished my master's degree last August in clinical mental health. Love educating. I taught at UVU. And my undergrad was family studies, so I'm a certified family life educator. So, love teaching relationship skills. I taught married relations at UVU. I worked there for 6 years, and then I taught for a year. And I am now in a different scene. And after being married for so long, single, like most of you, and just trying to figure it all out. Yeah.
My name is Sonda Lido, and I'm a single mom of 3. I've been divorced about 2.5 years. Was married for 14. And I don't feel like any kind of an expert, but because of what I've learned from people like you, most of my friends. And so my goal tonight is to share that there's hope and there's healing, and I know there's happiness, and that there's strength in that we find in each other. So.
My name's Phil. I have a daughter as well. She's 8 years old, and I work in the IT field in the healthcare industry. I'm new to the LDS singles, mid-singles arena, and so I'm here to learn as well what it's like to date on a regular basis, because I was married for quite some time, and yeah.
My name is Travis Brady.
Someone's here.
Every time it says his name,
right after
that chime.
Can everyone hear them, by the way?
Yes. Not so good.
Okay, go ahead.
So my name is Travis Brady. I am a single dog dad, and I live in South Jordan. I've been training for the last 13 years. I'm a mind and body transformation coach and a speaker, and so I want people to feel that same strength that I felt in my life through just developing your body and mind together. And I first got into the industry just wanting to work with athletes. I was like, I only want to train athletes. I don't want to work with anyone else. And when I first started at Golds, it was like that was the furthest thing I was working from was athletes. I was working with a lot of people right out of the relationships. And so we don't change sometimes unless we feel that pain. So, you know, what's more painful than coming out of a relationship, right? And so they wanted to make a change. So over the course of the years, I felt people step into their strongest self and be more confident through their body and their mind.
All right, perfect. So, as people had said before, the reason we started the podcast was because, like, we are all going through a lot of the same stuff. You find yourselves in little conversations with people, and you're like, really, like you too? And I think that being single again, or being single for this long, you tend to feel alienated, and you tend to you didn't think that you were going to be in this place. And so I think our goal for tonight was to hear other people's perspectives of going through the same things that we're all going through. And some people handle it different than others. And what would you do? And maybe think to yourself, you know, how would I answer that question? And then afterwards we'll have the Q&A and you can ask questions and maybe comment further on what we've talked about today. So my first question is, how important is it that someone you date be LDS? That they be a return missionary and that they hold a temple recommend? Anyone that wants to jump in?
I'll start. I generally think it's important for that person to be LDS. It goes in flow with a lot of my interests and obviously the religion itself. And to meet on a common ground, to be able to talk about common things in the religion and you know, be able to do things together, like go to church, go to the temple, stuff like that. So that's pretty important to me.
So we're talking individually or?
You personally,
You
like
personally.
how, for you, Travis, like, you know, is it important that someone you date be LDS? Is it important if they have a temple recommend? Like, what do you look for that way?
Yeah, I believe that's important. Religion, regardless of what it is I mean, you think about how much religion affects every decision we make in life. So for me, that's important to at least have a goal of wanting to do that. You know, I think it's really understanding here's where I'm not willing to bend and here's where I'm willing to bend. And so having that at least common ground, like this is a goal, you know, in between 1 and 10, how, you know, 10 being your temple recommend, you know, that's not important to me personally, but at least having that deep down belief, like this is what I believe, yeah.
And I think that, like, so compatibility, there's 5 main areas of compatibility, and one of them is religion. And also, it's, you know, like you're saying, Travis, like, if it's a deal breaker and you know that, then it's a deal breaker. But until you know what your deal breakers are, you don't know, you know, sometimes the compatibility can be very compatible one way or the other. And so I mean, for me personally, I'm about compatibility, which is a different level. So I can be compatible with spirituality.
Maybe less a checklist and more of a broad definition of connection.
I think everyone, like, yeah, sure, we have this high expectation of what we want, and it's, you know, we think of this logical list, but the thing is, we're not logical. Like, human beings, we're emotional. They always say it, the stock market is based upon emotion. And so we were just talking about this conversation earlier, just how, you know, there was this kind of scarcity mentality, like, oh, there's not that many people to choose from, so I have to hurry and grab somebody to date. And so that's an emotional decision. You're not being logical. So going back to this, yeah, I can have this logical decision of having this, but at the end of the day, that's emotional connection.
Candy was actually on our podcast about the scarcity concept. We had a really good discussion if anyone wants to check that podcast out. So we talked about a little bit, you mentioned deal breakers. Do you guys have anything that are must-haves in a relationship? And do you have anything that are deal breakers that you're like, you know, once they say they do this, or, you know, that's it for me, that's kind of my limit?
You know, I think it's important to educate yourself on personality disorders. That's something that I did not know very much anything about when I got married, and unfortunately discovered the hard way about them. So educating yourself about red flags, because you don't know someone's personality, but they'll show their red flags and knowing what those are. I don't know, they're different for everyone, I think. But.
And that's why we date.
Yeah.
Because you gotta date, guys. You gotta just date. Because you don't know what your red flags are. You don't know what your deal breakers are. You don't know if a missionary, a return missionary, if a convert, or whatever it is going to be. That's why you date. And you date, and you continuously date. And it does take time, and it takes seasons. And you go through the time, and you go through, you know, and then you can, then you find your deal breakers or not.
Well, and I think that,
and what you can work through together or not.
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
It's 3D Tinder, right? 3D Tinder.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that we all put our best foot forward when we go on our first dates, right? And so it takes a little while for things to come to the surface, those red flags, I think. And that's why, you know, like, we're all in the honeymoon stage at the beginning. And you might think, like, oh, no, I kind of know what their things are, but sometimes you really don't. And I've heard a lot of my friends